All right, folks, if you've watched the recent protests from the sidelines and felt discouraged, you are not alone, but there are many different ways to get involved and make a real difference. And joining us this morning is Richardson, Dean and Professor of Law at UC Irvine, via Zoom to talk more about taking action. I first want to say thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it for taking time out to be with us today.
Thank you so much for having me this morning.
An expert in the field of law and race, tell us your first impressions and feelings in watching the protests in response to the death of George Floyd.
My first response was what a tragedy this is, but also recognizing that this is not the first time police violence against Black men and Black women and people of color have existed for centuries. And so while it was an incredibly tragic moment, it is what has galvanized our entire nation. So I feel a sense of hope that perhaps things will change this time.
You know, speaking of hope, Dean, this fight has been going on for quite some time now, for decades. What do you think makes it different this time around? A lot of people are saying it's just something about this moment here. It feels like a turning point, a real turning point.
It does feel like a turning point, and I've been reflecting on that question myself, and I have come to the conclusion that it's a confluence of events. It is the impact of COVID-19 across the country and the disproportionate impact that it has on marginalized communities. That combined with social media and the videos that are constantly bombarding us with the violence that occurs throughout the country at the hands of the police. And then I think the final thing that made a difference here is the recent Amy Cooper incident in Central Park, where we have a white woman who was able to deploy what she understands is racism in our country, to lie to the police, to try to help herself. And I think all of those things combined at one time, along with the frustration that so many in our nation feel about the state of our union at this current moment, I think all of those things make this moment different.
It is very different, and we're looking at some pictures right now, and when you look at the crowd, it is, of course, made up of all races, ages, you name it, religions. Even going back to the 60s, there were whites and Hispanics and Jews who marched with, of course, Dr. King and so many African Americans in the fight for civil rights. Are you surprised by the racial diversity of the protesters?
I am not, because the issues that exist in our country with regard to race impact all of us. And so the fact that we have a multicultural, multi-ethnic, multiracial group coming together to fight for the very soul of our country does not surprise me. What I do hope is that there will be actual change this time.
Everybody can agree with you on that. We're all hoping for change. A lot of people are watching from the sidelines saying, what can I do? How can I help? Give us some concrete steps that people can take that can really make a difference.
Sure, and some of them will seem very simple. So I think that the problem of racism in our country feels overwhelming to address. So let me just give a few things that are easy. One, commit to doing something every day. That could be something as listening to the experiences of Black people in the country and the things that we have experienced for centuries. Educate yourself. There is so much out there to learn about the history of racism in our country, because understanding how we got here is the first step to understand how to dismantle it. Contribute to Black-owned businesses, to programs that support the Black community, to advocacy organizations that are fighting on behalf of our Black communities. And vote, please vote. Make your voices heard. Reach out to your legislators. Tell them how you feel about these things. And finally, speak up. Speak up about the injustices that you see, not only out there, but in your own families, in your own friend group, in your own workplaces. So those are some easy things that we can all commit to doing that can make a real difference so that this time real change happens.
Dean, before you go, we had some audio issues off the top, but I don't want to rob our audience. You were giving us some tips on how people can get involved from the sidelines. You said first, commit to doing something every single day. Second, educate yourself. Third, contribute to Black-owned businesses and programs. Fourth, vote, and also speak up about the injustices that you see, including inside your family. I got it correctly?
You got that right. Family and your workplaces.
All right, Dean, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Song Richardson, the Dean and Professor of Law at UCI. Of course, thanks a lot for waking up with us, and we appreciate you.